Italy is a place that is on nearly every single person's bucket list, and there are some very good reasons for that, but we also learned a lot while we were there, and we want to prepare you for how Italy works.
One of my thoughts that I had going into Italy was that everything was going to be expensive, and that turned out to be the case in some areas. But one thing that I was completely wrong about was the grocery stores.
We were so shocked at how cheap the grocery stores were. Like, seriously, we could get like bottles of wine for like $2 and like meats and cheeses for like $2. Like, it was wild and such a sweet, sweet surprise.
Yeah, this was like the very first thing that we noticed about Italy, because it was the first day we got there. We went to the grocery store and we're like, oh man, how much money are we going to be spending? And it was very affordable.
Going out to eat was like pretty average, I would say, but also we didn't go to any of the huge big cities like Rome, so I do feel like it would be more expensive if you went there.
While we're on the topic of restaurants, we do have to say that we were underwhelmed.
Oh, which is so sad because like you think like, okay, we're gonna go to Italy and we're gonna eat everything, and that's like the main activity. The food's gonna be delicious, and it's not that it wasn't good per se.
Because it was good.
It was just there wasn't lots of like spices or like, I don't know, like we had to add salt a lot of the time.
Okay, so here's the thing. Going into it, we thought, okay, Italian food is going to be the best thing that we've ever tasted. It is going to far surpass like anything that we've ever had before in the entire world. And yes, like we said, it was good. It just definitely wasn't even close to our expectations of #1 food in the world.
Yeah, and like, okay, here's the thing that I really did enjoy about Italian food was that you could tell that everything was so fresh. Like, that was our biggest takeaway, was we were like, okay, this was really good and fresh. But again, it was kind of lacking flavor, and I wouldn't say that it was bad. I just wouldn't say like it was the best thing ever.
And it definitely wasn't all of the food. Like, we had a really good like meat and cheese board. That's sticking out to me.
So good.
It's like sticking out to me that like that was like amazing, and the tomatoes were the best tomatoes I've ever had in my life. So there's a few things that was like, okay, this is fantastic.
Jacob had a really good pasta one time that we were staying at this like little winery in Chianti, and the pasta was really good. So there was a few times that we were like, oh, this is kind of what we expected Italy to be like, but the overarching thing was underwhelmed.
Yeah, and the pizza. I need to just put, I need to put that in there because I definitely did not like the pizza. I thought like
I didn't mind it.
The pizza in the United States is better.
Oh, you can't say that! Oh my gosh, so many people are gonna come after us.
Okay, but really though, I mean, it tastes better in the U.S., but it's way more fresh. I could taste the cheese in Italy, and like this is way healthier. This is way like more fresh. But
you guys, be nice to us. Like, don't roast us, please. Everyone's allowed to have their opinions, okay? Speaking of being friendly, I will say the Italians are very, very friendly. We had been to a few countries before Italy where like I have this thing where I have to smile at every single person who walks by me, and it's my own problem. But in Italy, every single person smiled back at me, or they smiled at me first, and it just made my heart so happy to be around people that were just so happy and kind.
And while we were around those type of people, we really wanted to make sure that we connected with them, or at least like tried to say a few phrases here and there in Italian.
And it was really, really helpful that we knew some Italian phrases, because the people there definitely spoke a bit of English, but not like an overwhelming amount, so it was very helpful that we knew how to say hello, goodbye.
Along with many other conversational pieces such as dining out or getting around, and we learned all of this with Rosetta Stone. It's so nice to be able to communicate with locals in their first language so we can immerse ourselves a bit more in each country.
And it's just like the smile on their faces when they hear us speak their language. I feel like it just connects us better, and I just love that so much. There's these live 5 videos that I love watching because they're just real world examples of like the situations that you would be in. There's like coffee shops and pizzerias.
With that said, we are so excited that Rosetta Stone has given us a link in our description. You'll get over 60% off a lifetime subscription for $149, and this will give you access to all 25 languages on Rosetta Stone. So if you're interested in learning another language or just a few phrases here and there, make sure to check it out with the link in the description.
I will say it was a little bit helpful to know these words and phrases because I feel like you're a little bit more respected, honestly, and the service in Italy was good. And again, like we said, the people were super friendly. But, you know, like in America, the customer is always right. Well, I feel like in a lot of places in Europe, the customer is always wrong.
There certainly was one time when we really felt like we were the wrong ones.
Yeah.
We were trying to buy this bus ticket one time when we were going in between... we took a train down from Pisa to Siena, and we were trying to get to Chianti, the wine region, and we were trying to buy this bus ticket. You can only buy it in one specific place.
Yeah.
And it just took like such a long time.
So long. And the guy, honestly, was very, very rude.
And I think that I was asking like
he was asking a lot of
questions about like the bus and where it picks us up and all that. And I was only speaking in English at this point. And
we were on a time crunch, so we were kind of like trying to hurry it along. Literally, we get through the entire process. Jacob is about to pay, and the guy like just was like, no. And
we didn't know what was happening,
we were like,
but
we just need to pay, and he literally wouldn't look at us. I was like, what's going on? Like trying to be super nice, and he literally just would not look at us. And I was like, what is happening?
Well, I guess if we're already talking about buses and we're on transportation, I might as well tell you about taxis. They are extremely expensive.
And they don't have like Uber anywhere that we were, or like Bolt or Grab, all of these things that we use in other countries to get around.
Before we showed up in Italy, I was trying to do a bunch of research, like, okay, like what's an alternative to Uber in Italy, because I didn't know they had that. And honestly, they just didn't have any apps, or at least I couldn't figure out which apps they actually use.
Which is so shocking, because like I feel like most countries around the world have rideshare apps now, and Italy didn't.
Well, we're coming like the previous country that we went to before this was Romania, and like we loved Uber there because it was just so affordable. They also had
so
Bolt.
Convenient.
And then just other countries that we've been to like recently like have that, and now this it's like, oh, we had to pay like 20 euros for like a 5-minute trip.
Yeah. In cash too.
Yeah, that's like, coming out in our next video.
Yeah.
It's just
strange.
And I feel like this is like something like Italy is trying to like remain in its history. This is another point I wanted to bring up, is like I wouldn't say they're like stuck in the past or use any of these like mean phrases about that, because that's totally not the case. Like they are like intentionally trying to like live in history, which like it makes sense
because it's a very historically cultural place.
Like so many of the buildings that we saw, Leaning Tower of Pisa, we were in Siena, and like all these places are just like, oh yeah, they're from hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago,
and they're gorgeous and still standing, which blows my mind, by the way.
And so it definitely makes sense why it's like, okay, you eat a certain way, or you have taxis instead of Uber. Like it makes sense, but it makes it a little bit more challenging, so you have to do a little bit more research before you go into it.
And a note, when Jacob said you eat a different way, there is a way that you eat in Italy. It's you have your aperitivo, and then you have your appetizers basically, and then you don't get your pasta and your meat like together like in the United States or other places that serve Italian food. They put the meat and the pasta together. In Italy, you have your primi piatti and your secondi piatti, and the first one's pasta, the second one's meat.
And like you should order both of those dishes, because when you're sitting down at a restaurant, you're lounging, you're taking your time. It's gonna take 2, 3, maybe 4 hours.
Oh my gosh, there was a few times where I was like, I have been sitting in this chair for so long, I need to stand up.
Yeah, there was one time I was getting like so sweaty, just like sitting there. It was pretty hot, and I'm like, okay, like I need to at least like maybe stretch my legs a little bit, like Jenny was saying. And when you finish a meal in Italy, you don't pay a tip that's already factored into the bill. It's like coperto. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. It's kind of like a tip.
A seating charge or like a table fee?
Like a tax almost. Like it's something like that where...
And sometimes they include bread in it and sometimes they don't.
Yeah, yeah. It's something that should be on every menu that you go to. I think it was on every single menu.
Yeah.
That like at a restaurant that we went to, there's like it's only going to be like €1 or like maybe 2.
3, yeah.
But I don't think it's ever more than like 2 or 3. But it's just like a little extra that you have to pay to sit down at a restaurant to eat. But I guess it's nice because then you don't have to pay a tip.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to like calculate the bill and like leave a certain amount. It's already factored in.
This one definitely isn't super shocking because I think everyone in the world wants to go to Italy, but there is so many tourists. I know we're tourists. Don't come after me.
We're part of the problem.
Like, we're part of the problem. I know. But it's just, like, the lines, like, when you look at Italy in the summer, there's, like, wait lines to get into the Colosseum. And it can be, like, 5 hours. Like, it's insane.
We didn't go to the Colosseum because we didn't go to Rome.
Because I didn't want to wait in a 5-hour line.
We're like, okay, this is going to be our introduction to Italy, and hopefully we'll return one day. But even though we didn't go to, like, all of these, like, crazy busy cities, like, Pisa was the busiest place that we went. There were a ton of people.
There was a ton of people.
At the Tower of Pisa. Just because, like, wow, like, just seeing all the people there, it's like, okay, maybe that's a good thing we didn't try to go to these, like, go to Rome, for instance.
And it's like, sometimes it's like, okay, yeah, there's a reason why there's so many tourists there. Like, obviously, Italy is incredible. The food is good.
It's good. It is good.
So, like, you know going into it that there's going to be a lot of tourists, but don't go there and expect to just, like, fly by and do everything super fast. Like, you're going to have to take your time, which is part of the experience.
I mean, like, every single list, like, oh, best places to go in the world, like, Italy's always on there. So, like, that's why there's so many people. But once you just get to experience the place and see the really cool buildings, the really old things, like, you know, like... You came there to do it. Like, we went to Italy to go do these things, and, like, okay, it just comes with everybody else wanted to do the same thing as you.
Definitely don't just go to the big cities. So, like, I feel like it's always best to get out and see where, like, actual people live and go to the little local villages and stuff. Like, that just makes the experience so much better. And there's a lot less people there.
That was our, like, favorite things about Italy is, like, whenever we would find something away from the crowd, that's, like, what we wanted to be doing. Like, even if it was just a restaurant, like, a 5-minute walk away from the busy street, like, we just loved it so much more.
Like, our favorite restaurants were always away, or just, like, walking down cute little alleys. Like, that was always our favorite. So we think all of these things are just the most important things to know before you go to Italy, so it doesn't shock you as much as it shocked us. We thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in our next video when we will be in Portugal.